and then movement of ideas. In Indian tradition of knowledge, we have moved from multiplicity to oneness. Multiplicity to oneness. As they say, that the Vaiyakaranas, the grammarians, they went to the seashore to collect what they call, जिनको हम कहते हैं वो पाइयां कहते हैं, पाइयां, to जो small, वो जो shells, they went to the seashore to collect shells, कौड़ी shells, कौड़ियां होती थी, कौड़ी shells. मतलब जो grammarian था, he went to the seashore and he collected कौड़ी shells, but in the process he found a pearl. उसको pearl मिल गया. So the grammarian starts with the phonetics, with sounds, so many sounds of human language, and he proceeds with them right up to Shabd Brahma, where the Shabd, the word, becomes a Brahman. That like Brahman, it manifests itself and constructs the world. शब्दों से ही हम संसार रचते हैं, हम शब्दों से ही संसार बनाते हैं. अगर हमको किसी चीज का नाम नहीं पता तो हम उस चीज को जानते ही नहीं. जब हम किसी चीज को नाम दे देते हैं तो हम उसको जानते हैं, हमने उसको बनाया है, हमने उसको पहचान लिया है. So the interdisciplinarity and then the movement of ideas from multiplicity to one, जैसे ग्रामर में शब्द ब्रह्म है, और एस्थेटिक्स, पोइटिक्स, लिटरेरी थियरी और आर्ट्स में रस हैं, 9 रस हैं, पर 9 रसों में ultimately all the rasas go into Shanta rasa. Shanta rasa. Shanta rasa is the supreme. Some people say Shringar is supreme, some say Shant is supreme, some say Karuna is supreme. But there is always one through which everything is explained. Second movement of ideas, our thought has moved from materialism to idealism. It is the opposite of the movement of thought in Europe. In Europe, with Plato, they started with idealism and they ended up with Karl Marx, materialism. We started with the Charavakas. There is a book, and if you can note down, please note down, it is a 13th century book by Madhvacharya, and the title is Sarvadarshan Sangrah. Sarvadarshan Sangrah. In that book, the first chapter is Charavakas, Charuvakas, whose speech was very pleasant to the people, because they used to say, कोई आत्मा नहीं है, कोई परमात्मा नहीं है, कोई भी ये गलत और ठीक नहीं है, सिर्फ शरीर है और शरीर का जो धर्म है वो सच है, इसलिए इंजॉय करो, उधार लेके शुद्ध घी पियो. उन दिनों में स्कॉच नहीं होती थी ना, उधार लेके शुद्ध घी पियो, तुम्हें क्या चिंता है, जिसने उधार दिया वो चिंता करेगा. और वो कहते थे पंडितों को कि अगर इस गंगा में स्नान करने से मोक्ष मिलता है तो तुम इसमें डूब क्यों नहीं जाते, और मछलियों को मोक्ष क्यों नहीं मिलता. So they were hard materialists. Our thought begins with materialism, but it ended with Shankaracharya, with subjective idealism, where the only reality is Brahman, and all the physical world that we see is a manifestation of that one Brahman, one energy principle. Brahman is nothing but the energizing principle, and the whole universe. हमारा शब्द भी बड़ा सुंदर है यूनिवर्स का, ब्रह्मांड, egg shaped universe, elliptical, जो मॉडर्न साइंस कहती है. एंड वी वंडर, टेलीस्कोप नहीं थी, कुछ नहीं थी, हमारे ऋषियों ने 5-7 हजार साल पहले कैसे समझ लिया कि ये यूनिवर्स जो है ये इलिप्टिकल है और ये एक्सपेंडिंग यूनिवर्स है. वो कहते हैं ये एक्सपेंडिंग यूनिवर्स है. तो दैट यू सी इन ब्रह्मांड, द होल ब्रह्मांड यूनिवर्स इज विजुअलाइज्ड एज एनर्जाइज्ड मैटर. एनर्जाइज्ड मैटर जैसे लावा होता है, in which forms arise and forms collapse. You and I are here as forms in this lava, energized matter, and 100 years from now, none of us will be here. We'll be gone, like the water bubble, like the wave, like the froth in a stream. We will come and we will go. The forms come and go, and the only truth, only unchanging, Anadi Ananta, is Brahman, the energy principle, the energy principle. Then let me now move to the next point. What is new in the new education policy? What is new? Two things are new in particular. That is, they have said education should be given through Indian languages. Mother tongue कहा है उन्होंने, पर mother tongue बड़ा problematic concept है. What they mean is, Indian languages. आजकल the medium of instruction is English, particularly higher education. Higher क्या? अब तो हम class 1 से अंग्रेजी पढ़ाते हैं. And in the states like Maharashtra and Gujarat, where before independence, the well-to-do people, strong people, they never sent their children to English schools. They were so proud of being Indians themselves. They sent to Marathi medium and Gujarati medium. Today, even there, they send children to the English medium schools. So, what the new education policy says is that the medium of instruction should be the mother tongue, the Bhartiya Bhasha. By mother tongue, understand area ki language. I was chairing a language committee and I have submitted a 4-volume report where I said that the state languages should be the medium of instruction. जैसे बिहार में यूपी, नागालैंड में English, if they want, or Angamis, because Northeast में English is a state language. They can use English, or they can use Angamis or Nagamis, whatever they want. So state language. So there are 23 state languages in India. Actually, from 7,000 years, we are the educators of the world. दुनिया को हमने सिखाया है. Armies have never marched out of India. Ideas have always marched out of India. We have educated the world. We are the teachers of the world. But today, for the last 182 years, we have followed a policy of English, education and employment. अंग्रेजी सीखिए, शिक्षा लीजिए और नौकरी पाइए. In the process, there is a pyramid and our Indian languages are marginalized. But Indian languages are too rich, too rich. Their history is longer than that of English. So they will always be there. And gradually the Indians will go back to their mother tongues. There is no doubt about it. It takes time to get rid of a foreign language. England itself, it became a French colony in 1066. And French became the language of government, language of education, language of culture in England from 1066. And do you know, it took them 300 years. Only after 300 years, they made their first law in English in 1353. तो अभी हमें तो सिर्फ कोई 182-83 साल ही हुए हैं. I hope in another 30, 40, 50 years, we'll be totally Indian. The education, because it is through a language which is not our own, it has not taken birth in our culture. This language takes us away from our culture, and it takes us to its intellectual source lies not in India but in the West. So we become, second-rate Westerners. We become translators, and our minds have become translated minds. अंग्रेजी की किताब पढ़ते हैं, पहले उसको अपनी भाषा में उसका अनुवाद करके समझते हैं. We translate it and understand what it is, you see. And therefore, it's a colonized mind, deculturized society, distant from its culture. A young man or a woman who takes this education, at best, is ignorant of his own tradition and culture, and at worst, has contempt for it. We are taught through a language which is the language of people who looked down upon us for 200 years. So we also become one who look down upon ourselves. So ये जो language का change है, it is a very radical change. A community, a people who lose their language, they lose their soul. उनका soul, their soul disappears, you see. And the second change that NEP has made is the change in that the content of education. India knowledge should be part of the content of education. I'm saying part of. I'm not saying they have said don't teach the Western ideas. No, teach them, because it is important. In 5th century, Bhartihari had said, say 5th century, Bhartihari had said that what does he know who knows only his own tradition? Listen to this. 5th century AD, an Indian thinker. What does he know who knows only his own tradition? Because the mind acquires a critical acumen by interacting with other traditions. That was a confident India, you see, proud of itself, its knowledge, and prepared to interact with traditions. Today you have to say, what does he know who does not know his own tradition? जिसको अपनी tradition ही नहीं पता. We are like, those broiler chickens. We look very impressive. हमारी ड्रेस भी बड़ी अच्छी है, एंड हम अंग्रेजी बड़ी अच्छी बोलते हैं, और हम खाना भी बड़े बढ़िया बर्गर्स वगैरह खाते हैं. बट द ओनली प्रॉब्लम इज, जो ब्रॉयलर चिकन होता है विच इज ब्रॉट अप फॉर कटिंग अप एंड ईटिंग, वो बड़ा वाइट और रेड कलगी और बिग होता है. द ओनली प्रॉब्लम विद द ब्रॉयलर चिकन इज वो अपनी टांगों पे खड़ा नहीं हो सकता. एंड वी पीपल हु आर विक्टिम्स ऑफ आवर एजुकेशन कैन नॉट स्टैंड ऑन आवर लेग्स, cannot stand on our legs. So दो चीजें जो न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी ने की हैं, very important, that give education through your language. Secondly, make your own ज्ञान part of your education, and इसलिए I think I've taken a lot of time. I will now quickly move through some of the subsequent points that we have to take. How to Indian languages you introduce, there is a question there. Indian languages become medium, yes, but they will also be subjects, naturally, subjects. And in some, you see, if you are a, let's say I am a Punjabi, my child is learning through Punjabi. Punjabi is the medium of all his study, but that doesn't mean he can't study Punjabi as a subject. He will study Punjabi as a subject also. And you have to plan your policy in such a way that the language, Indian language, is a medium and also the subject. And you will have maybe they will share with you the other points that I have written, but I'll come down to the question of knowledge content. Now, knowledge content, India knowledge in arts, humanities and social science, humanities and sciences. And professional education, 4 level है ना, 4 areas हैं: arts, humanities, science and professional, medicine and engineering and all that. And there are levels. There is school education, there is the undergraduate, there is the postgraduate, and there is a professional, and there is a research in, so 4 ही levels भी हैं, 4 ही level हैं, 4 ही domains हैं. And we have to introduce our knowledge in all the levels and in all domains. And I want to assure you, as for, let's say, कि आपको पाणिनि का ग्रामर, व्याकरण, अब व्याकरण आप पहली क्लास के बच्चे को भी पढ़ा सकते हो, और व्याकरण हम लिंग्विस्टिक्स में हम व्याकरण पे रिसर्च भी कर सकते हैं. मिल्टन की पोएम या जयशंकर प्रसाद की पोएम या शेक्सपियर की सोनेट आप क्लास 1 में भी पढ़ा सकते हो और एमए में भी पढ़ा सकते हो. गहराई, समझ की गहराई का भेद होता है. इसलिए भारत का जो ज्ञान है उसको हर लेवल पे इंट्रोड्यूस करना है. स्कूल में ट्यून करके, वहां अंडर ग्रेजुएट में, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट में, और प्रोफेशनल एजुकेशन, रिसर्च में और प्रोफेशनल एजुकेशन. और हमने जेएनयू में किया, जेएनयू में मैंने एमए इंग्लिश में, आई इंट्रोड्यूस्ड ए कोर्स, टेक्स्ट ऑफ इंडियन, सीरीज ऑफ कोर्सेज, टेक्स्ट्स ऑफ इंडियन इंटेलेक्चुअल ट्रेडिशन. एग्जाम्पल देता हूं तो आप समझ जाएंगे कि इनको इंट्रोड्यूस कैसे करना है. हमें अगर भारत का ज्ञान अपनी एजुकेशन में लाना है तो हमें सेकेंडरी बुक्स नहीं लिखनी है. हिस्ट्री ऑफ इंडियन नॉलेज और हिस्ट्री ऑफ इंडियन साइंस या इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम का इंट्रोडक्शन उसमें चैप्टर 1 फिजिक्स पे, चैप्टर 2 पोइट्री पे, इस तरह, ये नहीं, दिस विल नॉट वर्क। आपको अपने मूल ग्रंथ, योर ओरिजिनल प्राइमरी टेक्स्ट, you have to introduce in the system. For example, when I was teaching in JNU, and in JNU we only had postgraduate and research, MA, MPhil, PhD. I introduced in MA English the texts of intellectual tradition. Please listen to them. The first text I taught was Panini's Ashtadhyayi. And remember, in JNU, at that time also was a semester system, whole 6 months, MA English students studied only one book, Ashtadhyayi. Of course, we did not study it to learn Sanskrit. No, it is the knowledge of Sanskrit came as a fallout. We studied Ashtadhyayi to see how a knowledge domain can be analyzed and how a statement can be made about it. You see, analysis. That is why Ashtadhyayi is being taught in NASA also. What a modern analytical algorithmic mind is behind that grammar. Everything is algorithmic. It follows an algorithm. You see, तो उससे पढ़ाते थे. The first course was Panini's Ashtadhyayi. Then in the next semester, we took up this Bhartrihari's Vakya Padiya, Vakya and Padiya, sentence and word. It's a fantastic, unequaled book of philosophy and grammar of language. Philosophy of language. No book in the world, just as there is no grammar in the world equal to Ashtadhyayi, there is no book in the world equal to Bhartrihari's philosophy of language, Vakya Padiya. And it has 3.2 parts. Third part has 2 parts. Third कांड कहते हैं हमारे यहाँ, 3 कांड हैं उसके, ब्रह्म कांड है और वाक्य कांड है और पद कांड है, और पद में फिर जो ग्रामेटिकल कैटेगरीज हैं वो भी आती हैं. And then the third course was on Bharat's Natya Shastra. Now Bharat's Natya Shastra, Natya Shastra simply means science of enactment, science of performance. नाटक, नट हमारे यहाँ नट होता है ना, जो गांव में देखा होगा, रस्सी बांधते हैं, रस्सी बांध के ऊपर एक बांस को लेके वो ऐसे ऐसे बैलेंस करके चलता है, वो नट है. तो नट इज एन एनेक्टमेंट, इट्स अ परफॉर्मेंस. नाट्य शास्त्र is a science of performance, and performance science, it includes language, music, dance, and enacting. You see, gestures of the body part. An interesting thing I must tell you. For example, he says, when we are talking of something which is dear to us, the hand moves near towards us. My friend. You don't say my enemy. You say my enemy. Your hand moves away when you don't like something. What an encyclopedia. It's an encyclopedia of human behavior, human gestures, of music, of dance, and Natya Shastra, third. And the fourth, Patanjali is the Yoga Sutra. Now, it is understood, yoga is understood these days only as, physical acrobatics. No, that physical training is a training of the body. Unless your body is fit, you cannot train your mind. The goal of Yoga Sutra is to increase the ability of your mind, cognition and cognitive process. In fact, Patanjali, who wrote Yoga Sutra, he says that those who follow what I have said here, he didn't say I have said, those who follow the practices of yoga, they end up with two results. उनके दो gain होते हैं. 2 results. Number 1, उसके मन को गति मिलती है. His mind acquires a speed. Now, speed is a quality of the computers. आजकल हम कंप्यूटर की स्पीड की बात करते हैं. Here is Yoga Sutra talking of the speed of the mind. Your mind will get gati. And number 2, you will be able to experience things without actually experiencing them. You don't have to undergo every experience. You become a universal mind. What is a universal mind? You see, you understand everything, seen and unseen. You can You can look at something and look behind, look through it. You can look through it. Abhi, at a lower level, these abilities are there in each one of us. If we train ourselves, we can, we can. जैसे हम किसी बड़ा क्लोज हो हमारे, अगर मेरी वाइफ, उसकी मैं शक्ल देख के कह देता हूँ क्या बात है, क्या बात है, दुखी क्यों लग रही हो, क्या बात है, कोई गड़बड़ है? हाउ डू आई नो, हाउ डू आई नो, हाउ हैव आई एंटर्ड हर माइंड, how have I entered our mind? So we develop this ability in the yoga. You develop siddhis, and in the Divya Vidyas, the threshold sciences that I have mentioned in the beginning. 8 of the Divya Vidyas are siddhis which come from yoga. You know, the Patanjali says a person who becomes completely non-violent in his thought and action, who eschews violence, that person, even the wild animals will come and sit near him. You know, the sparrows will come and sit on his shoulder because there is no violence in him. And another thing he says, a person who always speaks the truth. जो व्यक्ति हमेशा सच बोलता है, उसके मुंह से जो भी निकलेगा वो हो जाएगा. इसलिए हमारे यहाँ बड़े बूढ़े कहते हैं कि गलत शब्द मत बोला करो. Don't speak wrong words about anybody because you never know, because the shabd has a power. If you are a particular kind of person, your blessing and your curse will have effect. Patanjali says those who speak the truth, everything they speak will come true. You see, इसलिए mothers, you know, our mothers give blessings to us. जीते रहो, लंबी उम्र पाओ. You see, because they know the mother's blessing actually works. So the fourth text was, so these texts we taught. So therefore, if we have to build knowledge, India knowledge, it won't by having introductory secondary writing कि किसी कपिल कपूर ने किताब लिख दी इंडियन नॉलेज के ऊपर, उसको प्रेस्क्राइब कर दिया, वो नहीं चलेगा. आपको बच्चों को मूल ग्रंथ पढ़ाने हैं. एंड इट इज माय एक्सपीरियंस दैट our students, if they study one Indian text, they change. Their philosophy of life changes, their mind quality changes, their self-respect increases, their shoulders become erect, because till then they had been thinking that all knowledge is created in the West. But when they read, you know, Derrida का difference, बहुत difference and deference, और जिसने अपना अद्वैत नहीं पढ़ा, you know, अद्वैत सिद्धांत नहीं पढ़े, वो deeply impress हो जाता है. Difference, भेद, जिसको ये नहीं पता that in the Indian system of thought, भेद बुद्धि, the mind which looks at difference is considered a lower kind of mind, and the higher kind of mind goes to abheda, non-difference. And Advait says that difference is not an ontological category. It doesn't exist. It is an epistemological category. It is only when you see two things, then you know that you see there is something like difference. So it is the original text. I think I have many things in the PPT which I hope maybe can be shared with you. People, IGNOU may be able to supply you the text of that. There are many things, but we have a long tradition, textual tradition, attested. ग्रंथ हैं, थिंकर्स हैं, मैथमेटिक्स में, मेटलर्जी में, आपके सामने है. आपके सामने कुतुब मीनार में 4th century AD का आयरन पिलर है, स्टील, प्योर स्टील, जो के 1600-1800 साल में भी उसकी रस्टिंग नहीं हुई है, रस्ट नहीं लगा. You see, so we knew metallurgy to the extent in 400 AD, before 400, and the Paris का जो पेरिस में वो जो है the famous monument, उसको हर साल millions of rupee लगा के उसको rust free रखा जाता है स्टील में. But this iron pillar ऊपर खुला पड़ा है, अंधेरी आती है, बारिश होती है, 1800 साल हो गए हैं पर जंग नहीं लगा. So metallurgy, physics, chemistry, mathematics, architecture, weaponry, shipbuilding, you name the science, and there are primary texts. We have forgotten all that because, like Hanumanji, who had forgotten his strength, we all suffer from a Hanuman syndrome. You see, we have forgotten our strengths. We only remember, we are told again and again about our weaknesses, but nobody reminds us of strength. Hanuman was reminded by Jambavant that you forget your stand. Hanuman sitting on the bank of Rameshwaram, and he grew large and he jumped across to Lanka. Till then, he was just sitting like an ordinary person who had no strength. So I think it's time to discover. I am grateful to the makers of the NEP